Live on a Tuesday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Bo. He is the great Z, and it's a big day, buddy. Dome it. Let's go.
There's no place like Dome. I remember the year was 2021. Week 4, we travel to Minnesota
Yeah.
to take on the Vikings and Skol.
Yep.
And I had not been to that stadium. I know you had been to that stadium. I was absolutely blown away. I thought it was basically the greatest sports venue that I'd ever been in. And to this day, I believe that to be true.
I would say I feel the same. I've never been at anything better than that one.
I believe that in 2029, the Cleveland Browns will be playing in the greatest stadium on planet Earth for a period of time, obviously, and then a new one will be built somewhere, and that's just kind of the way that it goes. But I do think that that will be of that ilk, same architect. But going back to that, so we're there in 2021. Browns beat the Vikings. Kevin Stefanski's return to Minnesota, not without controversy on the team for those who are really remembering how things unfolded in the year 2021. And then the very next week, we went to L.A. And played at SoFi Stadium against the Chargers in what was one of the all-time great Madden games. The Browns, obviously, we did not win that game.
Yeah.
We should have. There were some terrible calls that were made on that one, but that was one of the Browns were like one of the first teams with 450 yards of offense, 35 points or more, blah, 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 no turnovers, and did not win. But that's neither here nor there. Prior to that game, and again, this is 2021, so not even 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, I was on the sidelines and talking with large luminaries. And I was effusive in my praise of what I had experienced in Minnesota. And I can tell you at that point, this was not a possibility.
Yep.
I was rebuked, was the word I used in texting one of the luminaries responsible for getting this thing done. And it is amazing how times have changed and how thought processes have evolved to the point where it was, I want to say, what was it, about a year ago, six to 12 months ago, somewhere in that window, right?
Yeah.
That it was put in mode, like this is, it was at the beginning of the season, basically.
Yeah, this is where we're headed.
This is where we're headed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe 9 months ago.
Yeah, something like that. There's been so many. Yeah, you're right. Continue. Somewhere in there.
That this was a possibility, and I did get to interview the architect at that time. It was just, I was so happy. You were so happy. We've been proponents of this forever.
Yeah.
Forever. And probably it just should have been 1999, but it was so rushed. But that's what should have been built on the lakefront in 1999, had it been
absolutely
able to be done and all of that. So I just think that it's incredible how things have evolved. It's awesome. I woke up. I tried to be honest with you. I have a newborn. I tried to stay up for the moment that DeWine signed it, and he waited until it was after 11 that he actually put pen to paper. He had basically till midnight because I wanted to see it. This is such an awesome thing, and I've talked to so many people, and I'm sure you have too, people who come up to you, whether you know them or not, and they come up to you and they share their opinions with you rather quickly on what they think about this thing. This is going to be incredible. It's going to be, I think, transformative for this region. I think it is going to be world-class. We have world-class fans. It's going to be a world-class facility. Now we need to get a world-class team in place for 2029, and quite frankly, sooner than that, immediately. But this is so exciting, dude. This is going to be, like, think about this. And I don't think we talked, because we obviously didn't talk about it yesterday, but when you fly into Dallas, your flight path typically takes you over AT&T Stadium.
Yes.
And it's one of those things you look out of the plane, and I don't know if you do this. I'm always looking for stadiums and golf courses. That's the two things I look for.
Yeah, yeah. Same thing in L.A., by the way.
And then in L.A., you fly in right on SoFi, like literally right by SoFi. And now that's what we're going to have here. There's a thing, and Clevelanders, you all know this, so I don't want anybody getting upset. Sometimes you descend through the clouds, and you're like, oh, man.
Yeah, bleak.
Now you're going to at least have a beacon of something that is very cool that you're going to fly in and be like, all right, that's our stadium. That's going to host big things. It is. This is me talking. These are not guarantees, certainly, but, I mean, now you're in the line for Big Ten championships. Now you're in the line for Final Fours or regional finals. Now you're in line for Super Bowls, WrestleManias, any big stadium show, concert, event, anything likely is going to come through Cleveland. And that is going to bring so much money to this area, which is going to be great. It's going to be a point of pride. I can tell you our stadium right now, as it is not necessarily a point of pride in the National Football League. And in fact, I've talked to a lot of people who have played here, who have then gone on to play other places. And while our stadium has like a cool environment because the Dog Pound is so awesome, and by the way, you've seen the renderings, Dog Pound is going to be one continuous story section from bottom to the top.
Honestly, just as a quick jump in there, if you look at what they did down at the Crew Stadium at Lower.com Stadium, how they have the Nordecke in one wall.
Yep.
Also very similar to what Borussia Dortmund has, where you have the one wall of supporters. That's what you're going to get, and that's undefeated.
It's going to be awesome, and it's going to be right
Clippers
over the
have
visitors.
That too. They did that too. Yeah.
It's going to be right over the visitors tunnel. It's going to be awesome. This is just such an exciting thing. And, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I could envision at some point, and you could tell me I'm wrong, you would certainly know better, but that, like, every year there'll be a big-time Buckeye game played in that stadium. There's just going to be so many things that are even out of the box of what we're thinking about right now that are going to be able to take place in that stadium, not to mention it's going to be an unbelievable football environment. You are going to be able to go there no matter the weather and sit comfortably, watch a game. The seats are closer to the field than they are at our current stadium. It's just going to be – I've wanted this. This is a dream of mine for a long, long time. And a lot of people here probably don't travel to a lot of games. You haven't gone and taken in a game. That's a lot of you did last year in Vegas, and everybody who talked, dude, that stadium's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Minnesota, same thing. L.A., same thing.
Even Indy, when they first got that thing's gorgeous.
Yes, even Ford Field has
a
certain charm to it with the brick on the one side. It's just nice to be able to play football there. And by the way, when you have a good quarterback, which we are certainly hope that is on our roster already, and if not, we are going to our quest will go on and on to get it. That's a big advantage, playing in a perfect environment. It's a big advantage. And so I love it. I think it's cool that we're going to be the only dome in our division as well. I think is pretty neat, at least for now. It's just exciting, man. I'm so pumped about it. This is such a long time coming. And I really think it is. It has the potential to be a change in terms of how the Browns are perceived, how the Browns perform, how the Browns and this area are perceived in terms of just events of major magnitudes.
You hit on something there. I talked about this a little bit this morning. When this thing is done, it'll be the best venue in the world. Like, think about that.
Yeah, in Cleveland.
Here, we will have it. Right now, maybe it's Minnesota, maybe it's Real Madrid who just redid theirs, that type of. But this is 4 more years of technology. So and I'm glad that you put the qualifier on it for a period of time because someone will do something bigger and better because that's the way this works. But for a period of time, this will be the best.
It's like being the highest paid player.
Exactly. For a short period of time, or it could be a decent period of time, you will have the best stadium on the planet.
Yep.
Okay, so that is just such an incredible thing. Yeah, in this region. So that's incredible, that part of it. There are some who will say, and you and I have talked about this, you and I have been proponents of this going back to like 18.
Like, I've been a proponent
maybe
of it
even before that for you, but
since I sat behind this microphone.
Yeah,
so we're going back to
just been like, man,
12, 13.
I've been to a lot of those games in late November, December, or when we had when there were season tickets in the family. It would be like, hey, does anybody want these? No, I don't want them. I'm not.
I was on the sideline, brother.
You were, yeah, and they're just. There is a romance to the cold that is not backed up in reality of actually going to the games. And I think it's a lot of people on television. Yes, there's a badge of honor of saying, yes, I was in I was there. I was at the Buffalo game. I was at that game with my father-in-law and his 2 buddies. We were at that game, and it was awful. Now, you won, and so you remember it, but the experience of it was brutal to be in that. It was awful. So I've wanted this for a long time. selfishly, I want this for other reasons beyond and of course, it's going to do all of those things, all the economic impact, all of it. All of the things that you just mentioned as possibilities are things my kids love.
Yes.
WrestleMania, yep. NCAA Final Fours, yep. Big time concerts, yep. Big Ten championship football games, yep. Big time college football games in the playoff, yep. National championship games, yes. Super Bowls, yes. This opens the door for all of that. I have watched, because of what I do in the morning, I have watched college money go to Indiana for decades.
Yep.
I've watched that money go to Indiana and Indianapolis. I've seen it go to Detroit or Chicago. Enough. You can keep that money in state. You know what? You mentioned the Ohio State regular season game. It won't happen regularly, but what you could see is what just happened last year between Alabama and Wisconsin, where they played at Lambeau. So you could see a scenario where Ohio State plays a neutral field regional game, let's say against Texas. You play one of them in this stadium, you play another one in Jerry World.
Yep.
Like, both coaches would like that, to play in NFL stadiums and to be in regions with hotbeds of recruiting. So all of those things become possibilities that otherwise were not. If Ohio State ever has to renovate the Horseshoe, like a real renovation, they could play in this stadium while that renovation takes place. And they are going to need to do that in the near future. We're not saying any of this stuff is a certainty. Nothing is a certainty, but now it's possible.
But you also can have that game played on a Saturday, no problem, and play your game on a Sunday.
It's very
no problem.
easy.
It's not affecting the field.
It's not affect anything.
Yeah.
So all of the things that we're talking about are possible now, were not possible until now. And so aside from actually just you, and most of you listening to us are Cleveland Browns fans, right? This is Cleveland Browns Daily.
Yeah.
It's the team you love the most, right?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Your experience is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Your experience is going to be awesome at this stadium. It's going to be outstanding.
Yes.
You are not going to have to deal with a stadium that has two real ways in and out.
Yep.
You're going to have multiple ways in and out. There's going to be all sorts of parking. You want to talk about an entire region of Muni Lot, you can do that. Like, all of those things, it's going to enrich all of those things, all of them. And I couldn't be more excited about this. When I went to that wedding at the Minnesota Stadium, and up until that point, the two coolest things that I've ever seen were Jerry World and Indy. And I think they really crushed Indy, especially when you consider when it was built. The idea that it still holds up, it is still spectacular, it's still awesome to this day. And Jerry World's a stunning accomplishment, and the idea that they designed it so you never had to wait in line for a beer or a bathroom is pretty cool. That they designed enough of them to make sure that you didn't. But when I went to Minnesota, that was just on another level. It was the marriage of indoor and outdoor, that terranium kind of feel, the greenhouse feel with the natural light, all of the things that Minneapolis did. That was a game changer. And I remember coming back from that wedding and telling you, like, dude, when you go see us play there, you can't even wrap your head around how cool that place is.
So cool.
It's so great. And what's this? Is this how many years have they been playing in that place now? 5? 6 maybe?
More than that.
Maybe even more than that.
I think it's it will be. It's going to be a surprising.
It might be more like 8.
I think it's over. I think it might even be a decade.
Well, I know that I want to say in 14 they were playing it on campus at Minnesota, but I could be wrong.
They were that year. You're right. They were that year. So they would be right around there.
Somewhere in there. So maybe it's 10 years old now. So just think what technology this one's going to have.
Opened in 2016, so this will be its 10th season.
Yeah.
This is its 10th season.
Yeah. And that place is sick. Still.
Sick.
And so this is going to be 10 years more recent technology than that if you get started on it tomorrow. So, yeah, anyone who's listened regularly knows that you and I have wanted this for a very long time, long before, to your point, that it was ever even thought possible. We kind of resigned to ourselves that we'd be in kind of a Buffalo situation where you have something where the wind kind of goes around and all of this, and you're trying to re-engineer the wind. But to me, just take that out of it. And the other thing that you have to remember, and this is the other part in terms of the roster, 2 things. Number one, this ownership has proven time and time again that they will spend what it takes to win.
Yep.
So everything that they're doing in Philly can be done here, okay? The other thing, don't think for a second that this isn't more attractive for players. Don't think for a second.
Of course it is.
Climate control? Yeah. Come on. Kickers, quarterbacks, everybody wants to play in one temperature. Everybody. And now you're gonna. You're gonna
Yes!
So from a
It's
player
perfect.
acquisition standpoint, it's massive too.
And here's the thing. Just take a look at the fact. Look at what our home record had been. And you could say there are a lot of reasons for that, but the notion that there was this unbelievable home field advantage from playing outdoors
No.
did not hold true for us.
If the Green Bay Packers lose at home with Rodgers to the 49ers, what are we doing?
Right.
What are we doing?
By the way, I think you wonder if Rodgers would say, hey, I wish that was in a dome all these years. I think he'd probably been quite pleased.
Quite pleased, yeah. Yeah, of course they would.
Look at-
Everybody wants.
Look at Matt Stafford's played his whole career in a dome.
Yeah.
Drew Brees, way better in a dome.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins, way better in a dome. It makes the game easier. It makes it, and certainly, you go back to where Andrew Berry started his career, and I think I'm going to talk with them as well, as we saw the Browns have teased, and we'll get some excerpts from my first interview, which was with Dee and Jimmy Haslam, but the Building Brownstown podcast. We're going to talk to luminaries upon luminaries, both in this building, around the National Football League, the top guy in the league, all of it. It's going to be really, really cool. But, Andrew Berry, when he started with Indianapolis, one of the things that, and, Bill Polian, regardless of what people who are young and only know of him recently, but was the architect of, that in Peyton Manning kind of dynasty there in Indianapolis. And they built that team, obviously, for their elements, which were none, and the speed and, Dwight Freeney and Mathis and guys like that, and getting the good receivers, always having those good receivers, and then, Dallas Clark, blah, 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 goes on and on and on. But one of the things he told Andrew Berry is when you can eliminate the variables, the best team is going to win more often than it is not. And this now, I think, puts a big, big onus on this organization. You're going to have the best fans. You're going to have the best fan experience. You're going to have the best stadium on the planet Earth for a period of time here in Northeast Ohio. And you have got to get this football team on that same level, obviously tomorrow, but by 2029. Because when you have this, that gives you that opportunity to do something great, to host something great. I mean, what the dream would be, right? And you're going to get a Super Bowl here, but your hope is that you can do what I'm pretty sure it was the Rams who won the Super Bowl in their building.
That's fact. They did. They beat the Bengals.
They
in
beat
their
the Bengals
building. Yeah.
in their building.
Yeah.
Like, that's on the table now. You were never going to have a Super Bowl played in the city of Cleveland before this, and now it is a real possibility.
Well,
I mean, they've been in Detroit.
They
They've
played
been
in Detroit and
Indianapolis.
Indy, so like you're there.
Yeah.
You're there. So yeah, all of those things.
We got a bunch of statements
Yeah, you
and
go
letters.
ahead. Go ahead.
You want to hop into this?
Yeah, go
All right,
ahead.
so this is a letter to Cleveland Browns fans. By the way, how about the signature from Jenks there?
I mean, what a job out of him.
I don't believe it. I'd like.
Do you
to
think
see
that's
it.
his signature?
No. Do you? We need to get Monica.
I mean, that's like a John Hancock. Like he's got like Pedman does that.
it's incredible penmanship. If it is, where's my? I'm gonna. We'll get the answer to that.
I'm gonna you read their statement,
Yeah.
then I'll
Take a photo, send it to us,
yeah.
send it to our group chat. Yeah, I want to see his response because it's. I mean, it's flawless if that's real.
Yeah.
Now I think that it could be a one perfect one that's forever memorialized in a stamp. Right? Like where you just hit it perfect and you're like, let's make this a stamp.
All right, I'm getting to the bottom of it.
I think that's in play.
Yeah, like and then you.
It's a
just do
stock. It's a stock because it's. I mean, folks, you've seen it. It's an incredible signature. It's flawless. But here's the letter to Cleveland Browns fans. The next chapter of Cleveland Browns football. Yesterday's announcement of the approved state budget that includes a construct which supports a new enclosed Huntington Bank Field in Brook Park is a tremendous milestone for our organization, Browns fans everywhere, and the entire Northeast Ohio community. As Dee and Jimmy communicated earlier, and this is the quote from the Haslams, quote, "We respect the firm commitment and leadership that Governor DeWine and the Ohio Senate and House have shown in their collaborative work to find a responsible way to support such a transformative project, one that will create a generational impact for our region and our state. Our fans deserve the world-class facility, and we are committed to building a state-of-the-art enclosed stadium that resonates with Cleveland, highlighting our loyal and passionate fans and the Dog Pound, while also incorporating innovation, bold design, and an immersive experience. The new enclosed Huntington Bank Field we're going to go with enclosed then. It's not a dome, it's an enclosed stadium. It must be some type of a difference. Do people think a dome is maybe just like circular like the Superdome?
I don't know. I just think we all know what that means. right? Dome just means it's inside.
That's what I think.
Yeah, that's how I read it. So
Okay.
Either way, whatever nomenclature you'd like.
The parlance of our times. By the way, remind me, just say you were going to say something. Just remind me later. What'd he say? What'd he say?
Just for us.
Just
for us.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. We respect the firm commitment and leadership. Oh, sorry. The new enclosed Huntington Bank Field will be completely fan-centric, a first-of-its-kind design in the NFL, and a dynamic venue that draws visitors from across Ohio and beyond for concerts and significant sporting events throughout the year. This premier facility will anchor a major lifestyle and entertainment development and be a catalyst for one of Northeast Ohio's largest economic development projects ever, and something our community will be proud of and can enjoy for years to come. We appreciate the support of state leaders and their belief in this transformative project. From Jenkins. The Browns have been part of the fabric of Northeast Ohio for generations, and although there is more work to be done to bring this vision to fruition, we are thrilled at the prospect of this transformative project securing the Browns' future in Northeast Ohio for generations to come. As we continue down the stadium path, we want to reinforce a few key facts. 1. The Haslams continue to commit to Greater Cleveland, and with this unprecedented $2+ billion private investment in the stadium and vibrant mixed-use lifestyle and entertainment development, along with our private development partners, Haslam Sports Group will pay for any cost overruns on stadium construction, and the public will not bear any overrun risk.
That's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. And I know there are people like billionaires should pay for it all. And I get that. This is a substantial commitment from them. As it's slated right now, they're 1.8 of 2.4. Mm-hmm. That's a significant commitment. That's 75%. The new enclosed Huntington Bank Field is more than just a stadium project. The venue will host the world's best and most exciting concerts and events throughout the year, bringing a far greater impact to downtown Cleveland through regional and national visitors than just 10 to 12 current stadium dates. The state's construct is a performance grant towards the stadium that will be paid back with incremental revenue generated by the project above a current state revenue baseline. There has been no ask by Haslam Sports Group to pledge existing tax revenue streams that would take away from other pressing community needs to fund this project. The economic development project not only will pay back, but provide all stakeholders an additional return on their investment. The Haslam family is also providing the state additional protection in the form of significant upfront private dollars that will be held in escrow to ensure the state is made whole on its investment in the unlikely event the project falls short of its projections. So the state will be made whole regardless of the outcome of this project.
Yep. Right.
We will continue to invest in Northeast Ohio and our community. We embrace our responsibility and our privilege to use our platform to create meaningful change, particularly in supporting equitable opportunities in the fields of education, youth football, and economic advancement. We see the stadium project as a further way to advance these important community pillars of our organization. Humbly and admittedly, we have not had the success our fans deserve on the field, but we've always tried to hire the right people to put us on a path to success, and our commitment remains steadfast to building a championship-caliber team, a world-class stadium and fan experience, and continuing to give back to the community. In the meantime, training camp is less than a month away, and everyone in our organization is working towards an exciting, successful season that gives the Browns fans plenty to cheer for. We look forward to sharing more details about this project as plans evolve, and thank you for your support of the Browns and for coming on this journey with us. We are excited to deliver the long-term stadium solution and major economic development project all of Northeast Ohio deserves. Sincerely, Dave Jenkins, Haslam Sports Group, Cleveland Browns. And right now, if you go to the Browns Twitter handle @Browns, there are a bevy of posts. The Browns have also launched a stadium site for Huntington Bank Field that tells you a lot of the things that you need to know for it. So you guys can check that out. So there is a ton of doing, and that website, I retweeted that. It's the new Huntington Bank Field website, so you can check that out as well. And we also have not just our written word. We actually have quotes from the owners.
We can hear them
some
too.
clips we're going to play for you right now from our owners, Jimmy and Dee Haslam. This is from the Building Brownstown, which is a 10-part podcast coming out later this summer. This is a snippet of the interview that I did with Jimmy and Dee.
Building this dome facility, we'll go from having 10 events a year in our current stadium to having all kinds of events. And I think it's really important for everybody to understand that yes, there'll be 10 NFL games and hopefully more, but there'll also be a chance to have national championship games in football, Final Four games in basketball, men's and women's. There'll be a chance to have the Sweet 16 here. The Women's World Cup has come to the U.S. in 31. We will put in a bid for that. Would we have gotten a bid in? If we'd had it, we'd have had a bid for the Men's World Cup, which comes next year, as you know. So you have to think big and broad. All the concerts that we've missed that go to Detroit or go somewhere else, Indianapolis, will now come here. So it is going to be transformational.
All right, we've got another one from Jimmy, and I love that. That's what we're talking about. Massive events, world events, global sporting events, all will be now coming to Cleveland. And he's going to talk about the home field advantage that our fans create and what that has to do with the new Huntington Bank Field.
We have not done the job on the field we should, and we bear full responsibility. And if anybody deserves a great stadium and a great team, it's the Cleveland Browns fans. You deal with them every day. We have the world's greatest fans. We are going to deliver a world-class stadium. I could argue it's the best stadium in the country, one of the best in the world. We need to develop the same kind of team. I do think a dome stadium, and you're with us when we go on the road, does give you an advantage with the home field because that noise is just packed in there tighter. And we hope this will become not only a great experience for our fans, but a terrible experience for the visiting team because it is a, quote, hard place to play.
What he just hit on there is actually something that you and I have talked about before, and it's not because of lack of effort from the fan perspective. It's just because of the way the wind blows in our current stadium situation, the noise gets blown out.
Totally.
It does not keep it in, and it's not as loud as it should be based on the effort that the fans are producing. It's not.
Oh, and the dome it bounces right back down.
Or there are some outdoor, like Seattle
but
where
they
it's
designed
it that way, and
Yes.
the new Buffalo one will be built that way, where they design it that way to keep the noise in. Ours was not. It was built hastily, and it's built in a way that a lot of the noise escapes.
Yeah.
And that's part of it.
All right, let's hear now from D. Haslam the fact that with this stadium, every detail is focused on a stellar fan experience.
Everything we've done in the planning process for the new Dome Stadium is fan first. You know, what can we do to create the best experience for the fan? That's talking about the unique food service. You know, we're going to have some really great experiences, just everything about the concourse. And we've thought about, you know, what's the experience going to be like for the fan, what the plaza looks like. I mean, it's kind of walking in the fans' shoes to create the best experience for them, because we know now it's been a pretty rough experience for them, and we want to make sure that every detail is fan first.
And that's one of the cool things about this is, and I know our team, people that have been involved in this, whether it be, you know, all the way up to the Haslams, to Dave Jenkins, to Monica Lindsay and Phil and Ted and Brent Rossi and everybody who has been a part of traveling to other new stadiums. The Clipper Stadium, for example.
Yeah.
To international stadiums, to domes here, Minnesota and SoFi and Vegas and all that, walking around, talking with the people that were responsible for making those, pulling what they thought were the best things from all of these other places to be able to put them into ours. This is, when I say that this place is fan obsessed, and this place, I mean the Cleveland Browns, they are. And I know, and Jimmy said it in his, the product on the field has not been commensurate with the effort or the money, certainly, that has been spent to try and make this team what we all want it and deserve it to be. This stadium, though, is going to be like Cleveland Browns Disneyland.
If you have not yet been, go watch a game at lower.com with the Columbus Crew and go see what that atmosphere is like. They built that stadium.
Yeah.
Okay. And that one it's all fan. It is universally a 10 out of 10 for everybody down there. And that's what they did down there. So that's what's coming.
Yeah. And this is a much grander scale.
Well, of course,
when it's the National
of course
Football
it's the
League.
NFL, but I'm just saying, like, they had to build a stadium in a short amount of time, and everything that they put into account on that was how do we make sure that the fan experience is a 10?
Yep, absolutely.
And they succeeded
did.
in that.
Here's one more from D. Haslam, building on the legacy of this franchise and this city.
For this community to think big, to have vision, to really be excited about what this community can look like. So I think for us, it's not about us. It's about Cleveland and Northeast Ohio and what it means to be citizens from here. I mean, this is a unique place. We have fallen in love with it. We're adopted. I guess we're somewhat adopted here, but love this area, love this region. So it's not about our legacy. It's actually about the legacy of the Cleveland.
Which is awesome. And they really see this not as, and I know the question that was asked there, and I know what I asked and how it got where it was, but they don't see this as like, this is our family's legacy, that this is going to be here, which they could, and reasonably so. Like, this is something that we've come into this community, we love it, and this is going to be our big, leave to it. They see it as they are stewards of this organization for a time. They are stewards of the Cleveland Browns and what that means for a time, a period of time. And that this is something that can be a lasting impact for this franchise, for the Cleveland Browns, for their fans, for this region that will, we use the words transform. I really think that that's not hyperbole. That's
There's not an ounce of hyperbole in that.
It will transform the way Cleveland is viewed. And people say it's in Brook Park. I know that,
Cleveland.
but it's Cleveland.
Yeah.
This area, Northeast Ohio, Cleveland, will be transformed. There's another thing that just occurred to me. When you think about what is from Brook Park, 45 minutes maybe, 45 minutes south or south
To where now?
to Akron,
Yeah, around there.
45 to an hour.
Yeah,
that's
no-
where the
no more.
That's where the and Canton. That's
Canton,
where
yeah.
That's
Canton,
where the
about an hour to Canton.
Yeah. Okay. That's where the Pro Football Hall of Fame is.
Yeah.
You don't think it is going to dawn on the National Football League that now we have a state-of-the-art facility as good as can be 1 hour from the Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
and that's not going to be a draw to them to put events or football forward-thinking events into that building?
Yeah.
Of course it is. Mm-hmm. Of course it is.
Yeah, this thing just opens up what's possible. Things that weren't previously possible in this state now are.
That's right.
So beyond just your Browns experience, which is going to be 10 out of 10, beyond all of that, what it means for the region. I mean, you understand.
And
it's
year-round.
so transformative for the region.
And year-round.
And that's what I mean. Things you otherwise could not have. There was no, if this didn't get done, there was no path to ever see a Final Four here. There's no path to ever
March.
see a national championship football game here, a Super Bowl. None of those things were
Just
possible.
a college playoff
None of
game.
that. None of that. Now it all is.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's an awesome day. It really is.
And I have to think, if you're a big, you're looking, I think that you're looking to think about how in Georgia, for example, they have the beautiful dome. Mm-hmm. And so they have the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it is still the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, but for a time it was
Yeah.
the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. You're going to have big companies here and that do business in this region lining up to try to put their name on whatever bowl. There's going to be a bowl game played here in that dome, sure.
What they will get done, what they can get to the front of the line of right away is college football national championship game,
Yep.
because they're going to play one in Indy, so they can play one here.
Yep.
And so that you get to the front of that line real quickly.
I think the
on that.
Big Ten championship is going to be here.
They can
before
bid
long.
on it for sure, because right now it's in Indy every year, and there's no reason for it always to be there.
Especially now when Ohio State is the preeminent
Right.
force of the Big Ten.
Right. And by the way, you're closer to, I would assume that you're closer from Ann Arbor
Michigan.
here than you are in Indianapolis, I
Yes.
would think.
Yes. There's
yeah.
no way. It's 3 hours.
I would
It's 3 hours to Fort Wayne.
from here, but I mean from Ann Arbor.
No, I mean from Ann Arbor. I think it's.
Is it
like-
really?
it's similar to here because that's where it kills me. I could be wrong about that. But
Yeah, I don't know. Don't know. Either way, the point is they've had it at other places, and now you can be involved in those things. So this is, yeah, I mean, this is a very, very exciting time. I'll guarantee you this is faster to State College from here than it is to go to Indy for Penn State fans. So, and it's certainly faster for East Lansing, I would assume, as well. So
it's over 4 hours to Indianapolis
from Ann Arbor. Yeah, and it's about 3 from here.
That's right.
Yeah, so there you go. So it's an exciting day. It very much is, and it's going to be here before we know it. It is absolutely transformational, not just for the Cleveland Browns, but for the region, for the state. It's just awesome. Very exciting. Those are your hot topics today, presented by University Hospitals, official healthcare partner of your Cleveland Browns. We will continue our positional breakdowns. We will talk about the offensive line room coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily. We're presented by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Morgan Wallen is bringing his I'm the Problem tour to Huntington Bank Field on August 15th and 16th. Country sensations Miranda Lambert, Thomas Rhett, Ella Langley. Tickets are on sale now at huntingtonbankfield.com/Morgan Wallen. Don't miss out on this must-see summer show. We begin our preview of the Browns' offensive line room with the podium, and it's presented by Vivid Seats. Purchase your official fan experience package today for the ultimate game day. Here's offensive line coach Mike Bloomgren.
Mike, Coach, what's the
You're done.
challenge of being the new guy in a group that's so experienced that most of these guys have been here for over 10 years?
You know, I don't know that there's a challenge in that. I think it's quite an advantage, especially because there's so many things in my background with Bill Callahan that is called the same and still done the same, but there's also things that aren't. And so I think having those vets, you know, when you talk about Joel and Poe and Wyatt and Jack, I mean, those guys are such a good window into the past, the recent past. And so I can see how Bill evolved, because Bill always evolves. You know, he's a master coach, and so it's a good thing for us to be able to say, okay, we're going to do this like this or exactly like that, and just for a start of reference in the conversation.
Mike, Jack was saying yesterday that beyond just what you bring from your own experience, the head coaching experience, that head coaching piece that you have in your background, he said it's how valuable it is to bring to the room. What do you feel like that head coaching experience adds as a position coach now at this level?
Yeah, I think whether you're a head coach of a football team or the position coach, like, you're in charge of that segment, right? And as a head coach, of course, you have a lot of balls in the air. I think the big thing I'd tell you is I am so fortunate and so happy to be back in the National Football League and to be part of this organization. It's an outstanding organization to be part of, and I get to worry about football all the time. I get to worry about the offensive line all the time, instead of kissing babies and raising money and some of the things you do as a head coach in college football in this day and age.
Joel Bitonio, when we were talking to him, he said, praising you, he said, sometimes you have to be as an offensive line coach. So how do you do that without going too far?
You know, I think you have to be true to yourself. I think players at any age feel like when you're not being genuine, and they know it. And I think they can tell how much I love this game. If it comes across as being that word, that's probably the nicest way anybody's ever called me that word. So I guess I'll take it, and I appreciate the fact that these guys want to be pushed. And they do. They want to be great, and that's a fun group to work with day in and day out.
I know at the end of last year, a couple of guys were talking about wanting to get back to wide zone and what Kevin had done early in his tenure here, and then Joe was excited to do it. So can you see that excitement from these guys that are kind of getting back to the bread and butter?
Honestly, from day one of OSP, when we got to talk about it, when Tommy Rees went in there and installed the offensive identity, and we talked about who we're going to be and what things have to happen for us to be that team, I think you've seen a great level of excitement, and you've also seen guys making a commitment to those techniques move.
With the idea of the identity, I mean, what is your philosophy going into this, and what you want this line to be, what you want them to represent when they're out there?
Yeah, this line is going to be smart, tough, and physical, and they're going to see the game through one set of eyes, and that's going to be Ethan Posick, who's going to identify things for us.
You were with the Stanford teams that, I mean, running the football and that physicality was sort of, that was their identity. Just what's the similarities between what you guys are trying to do here with what you guys did there at Stanford?
I think it's a very similar philosophy in terms of wanting to have the ability to pound the rock. Now, with that, you're in the National Football League. You're also going to have to pass protect. But again, in everything that we do, there's never going to be a passive rep. Like, pass pro is only passive until contact's made, and then it's straight violence for the rest of the down, and it's a barroom brawl. And so as long as we take that mindset and understand the fight that it takes, whether it's run or pass, I think we're going to be just fine. But talking about those Stanford days, those were a lot of fun. Those were a lot of fun, being able to pound the rock down people's throats. And that's something this offensive line really wants to be able to do for this team as well.
What have you seen from DeJuan Jones at left tackle?
Yeah, I think DeJuan's done some good things. You talk about like what you've seen this offseason just as the OSP started. You talk about the steps that he's taken. He's been at everything. He's attacked his rehab, and he's lost some weight. So I think those are good starting points. I think there's so much good in the package that is DeJuan Jones, things that certainly you can't coach, from a length, a size standpoint, athleticism. There's a lot of good in there, but he's certainly not a finished product, as are none of us in that offensive line room, including myself. Like, there's still a lot of work to be done. I really think it's the proverbial, we're not where we need or want to be, but thank God we're not where we used to be. We're making progress, but we got a long way to go.
You got a player comp? Is there anybody from your past that DeJuan reminds you of?
Whew, no.
He's that unique?
He's unique, yes.
He talked about the transition from the right side to the left side. Now he thinks he's still kind of going through that, and just, trying to do stuff left-handed. How have you seen him get better, and how do you help him get even further better being on that left side?
Yeah, I think it is reps, and ruthlessly repetitive fundamentals are a thing we believe in the offensive line room. And so the more sets he can get from the left and the more comfortable he can get, whether it's from a 2-point stance or from a 3-point stance, that all has so much value. And we've got to make sure we're getting him those reps. I'm really encouraged by the ability that's there. And again, I think there's a philosophy in this building and something Bill has always held strong to. And there's not a whole lot of difference between playing right and left tackle from a skill set. And although we know the importance of the left tackle position, I'm not saying that. But again, when you talk about just mastering those footwork patterns and feeling comfortable with every kick and every step you're taking, that's really just time on task because it is a different stance.
So you believe that kind of a tackle is a tackle, right left isn't. More is made out of right and left than maybe the reality is.
I think when you're looking for tools and skill set, yes.
Over the past couple of years, injuries have kind of plagued the line for you. Where do you see the depth of this team? Obviously, you want to stay healthy, but where's the depth look like for you?
I think the depth's coming, and I think the offseason moves that we made and bringing Tevin in and bringing Cornelius Lucas in, those are great steps to shoring that up. There's also going to be some competition at a couple positions because of those guys jumping in there. I think Luke Whippler, who we call Coach Whippler because of his knowledge of the system, I think he's doing a great job, and I think we have a ton of confidence in him.
How much do you enjoy the development part of this?
I love it. I live for this, y'all. Like football is what I love.
Along the lines of Juwan switching to the left side, I've seen a couple times where he's kind of off on the side talking to Miles a little bit. They're sort of talking about some different things. Just how much can Miles help Juwan sort of learn up the ropes on that side and just going up against that caliber of player?
Yeah, I think it's the ultimate iron sharpens iron, right, as you talk about that. And so anything that they can do, and certainly post-rep, hey, what'd you see, what'd you feel, and why, and being able to process that as an offensive lineman, knowing that we live in fractional seconds, so it's got to be something that's done pre-snap. And so we can take it away the next time, understanding like, hey, I saw your shoulders open. Hey, I saw you off balance. Great. Let's make sure we fix it and just stay lower and stay square.
Did you really tell Joel you thought he had 4 years left?
I did, man. Look, I'm the eternal optimist, and I'm praying to get every moment I can with Joel Bitonio. Like from that first dinner that we had, I just think it's been such a blessing to be around him. I really comp it to when we brought in Alan Faneca with the Jets in 2008. And whenever Joel talks about something he sees through the face mask, I can't wait to write it down, right? Because there's so much wisdom in there, and it really was the same as Faneca. Like I got books full of his vantage point that I still use today to teach.
So you were pretty relieved when he decided he was coming back?
Yeah, I'd say it's one of my best recruiting efforts lately.
All right, there you go. New offensive line coach Mike Bloomgren from the mandatory minicamp. And now let's take a look at this offensive line room. This is something that we thought there would be a little bit of future planning in the draft in terms of a tackle. It didn't happen. But certainly you feel very good about that front group. But there are some age issues as well, as this is a very veteran group in parts, and then it's really young in some of the spots behind them.
Well, not only
You're good.
Not only that, you have a lot of guys whose contracts are up after this season. There are a lot of guys who are on the last season of their contracts with the Cleveland Browns in this offensive line room. And so that makes it a challenging or an interesting situation to project not only what this team is right now, but what is this team and what is this offensive line going to look like for the future? Because if you look at it, Joel Bitonio, weren't sure if he was going to come back. He did. This is the last year of his contract. 2026 is a void year on his contract. Then you go to Wyatt Teller.
Yep.
Wyatt Teller is in the last year of his contract. Ethan Posick is in the last year of his contract. So that's 3 of your starters. Tevin Jenkins is on a 1-year deal. Mm-hmm. So this is a group that does not have, you look at kind of your top guys, and I'm pretty sure Cornelius Lucas is on a 2-year deal. So of your top of your starters, DeJuan Jones, and then I didn't mention the other one. Your other starter would be Jack Conklin. Jack Conklin is in the last year of his deal. So you're talking about 4/5 of your starting offensive lines in the last year of its deal, and then one of your top backup. So 5 of your top 8
Yep.
are in the last year of their contracts. So you've got a lot to do here. And yes, you've got DeJuan Jones. Yes, you've got Zach Zinter. You've got Luke Whippler, and Cornelius Lucas, I guess, has a second year. But there's not a whole lot set for beyond. So this season, and obviously they're excited about Bloomgren. He brings kind of that real legitimate, attitude to everything. And you could tell the players like him. But this is a line that's got not so much questions for what it can do on the field this year. We're going to have questions about kind of what the backups look like, but what it's going to be going forward. What is this room going to be in 2026?
It's a big one. It's a big one, and it is. And so I think the thing that the veterans obviously need health. If you have to pick one guy, though, that it would sure be nice if he plays healthy and completely up to as great as he can be when healthy. And God knows I see him every day.
He looks fantastic.
I walk in the building, he's walking out. It's every single day. It's been that way all off season. Is DeJuan Jones?
Yep.
He is essentially a lottery ticket. If he plays healthy, if he stays healthy, he's a first-round pick, Pro Bowl caliber tackle.
Yep.
But you need him to, and it's a big season for him to be able to do that. But everything else, I mean, whether it's Bitonio or Teller or Posick or Conklin, the age is getting up there, the wear and tear is getting up there in a lot of those instances. So that's a big part of it. Is there an X factor for you here?
I mean, it's got to be DeJuan, right?
Yeah.
I mean, DeJuan to me is the X factor. And then the other kind of X factors are if there are opportunities for Tevin Jenkins, who could become a long-term solution, but he's on a one-year deal, or Zach Zinter, and is he going to play some center as well as guard? We've seen him get some reps early in the offseason. Are they ready?
Yeah.
Are they ready to be somewhat what we would call heir apparents? Because that's really, you kind of need them to be somewhat heir apparents, because the likelihood, if Joel came back for this year, there's a good chance that this could be only this year, could be a one-year thing. And then on the other side, it could be for Zach Zinter, can he step up? What's his mode? But then I think Wyatt Teller, you could see here being more longer term, but that's not worked out yet. So there's just a lot of question about this line beyond this year. And that's not a position that the Cleveland Browns have been in for quite some time.
No, we during the Callahan regime, you had not only did you have the first five were great, but you always had guys behind who you felt very good about if something happened. It felt like in the COVID year, he was pulling guys off the street and they were coming in and playing great. And in some instances, he was.
Yep.
So that's part of this thing as well. Zinter and Whippler Whippler was so good before the injury, and getting a full season. When you have that question of who will need to step up, those guys really need to prove this year that that's not something that needs to be addressed going forward, the interior, the future of the offensive line, so that next year when you get to the draft, hopefully you have a quarterback solution on this roster. And then wouldn't that be something if with 2 first-round picks, you could then go get the best tackle on the board as part of that long-term plan there. It gives you a lot of possibilities. DeJuan's a big part of it, though. But those two young guys in the middle, big-time pedigree, they just have to prove that they are who we think they are.
Correct. So there's going to be, I think, we talk about preseason games being important, obviously, in the quarterback position. I think it's going to be really important for Zinter and Jenkins and Luke Whippler on the interior. And then if any of the young guys that are on this roster playing tackle, if any of them can show, I can be a part of this as well. So this is going to be it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
I do think that this team, I do think up front you will revert to form, and I think it'll be very beneficial playing in a more traditional Kevin Stefanski offense.
Agreed. I think that will be very helpful for
I think
a
it's
lot
going
of
to be
these guys.
very nice because there was a disconnect between what we did offensively last year, I think, in the front, and I think those will now be in lockstep. And I think what Joel and Wyatt and Ethan and Jack are comfortable in is the wide zone scheme, and I think they're going to roadblock a lot. I think we're going to run the ball an awful lot with those backs, and offensive linemen love doing that. And so
yes, they do.
It fits their skill set better
Yes.
than what they were asked to do a year ago. Very talented, but a lot of questions, and the primary question is going to be health. You just need guys to stay healthy. That's Jack, that's DeJuan, that's obviously Joel and Wyatt and Ethan, and then you need those young guys behind to prove that they are who you think they are. So this could be a situation where next year we're looking here and we're like, actually, don't have any questions. Juan was a Pro Bowl offensive tackle. All of those things worked out, but we just need to see it kind of work itself out over the course of this season. All right, coming up at the top of the hour, Josh Cribbs will join the program. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily. It's presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Welcome back in Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. We head out on the Twisted Tea hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. It is Browns legend Josh Cribbs who joins us there. You having a good summer, buddy?
I definitely am. I'm enjoying my summer and the heat.
Well, we haven't had much of it, man. It's rained basically every day since March, pal. We had like last week, and that was kind of it.
It was still heat. It was still humid and muggy with that rain, and anything but a winter. I love it.
Anything but winter is good, buddy. Absolutely.
Rain is not good.
We've had so much.
too
God,
much.
yesterday was crazy. All right, is it hard for you to?
You know what, though?
Go ahead, bud. Go ahead.
Real quickly about that rain, it waters my grass for free, so you can't forget about that. You got to look at it as a positive.
You are glasses half full today, buddy. He's for it.
Yes.
Keeps his lawn green,
Exactly,
baby.
man. You got to be like that in Cleveland. Come on now, brother.
Josh, is it hard to kind of wrap your head around? Today is July 1st. We're going to be at camp before we know it. As you've kind of followed over the course of this off season, and we get to training camp, which will be here in just a few weeks. Where will your eyes go right away when you see this Cleveland Browns team hit the practice fields for the first time?
Well, first, of course, is the quarterback battle. It's been some years since we had one. And before that, every year was a quarterback battle. And that is, sort of the only thing we usually talk about here was who's going to be the next quarterback. And is that quarterback in the first round that we took, going to pan out, whether it was, Brady Quinn, whether it's Colt McCoy, whether it's Derek Anderson, and the list goes on and on. And, we always had that quarterback a question mark. So I'm pretty excited about the quarterback battle this year because it plagued us for the last few years, and to have valuable, viable assets at the quarterback position here, no matter who the Browns choose on week one, I know it's going to be somebody who can run the offense and score points.
They always hear players will say this. They'll say you can't fool the room. That if there is an agenda at the quarterback position, the room will undercut the agenda. You were a player, and you were a part of these. You were on these teams when you had quarterback competitions. Is there a way to fool the room, or is that true that the room will play out the way that it's supposed to play out, and you can't fool players?
Yeah, it's true to a certain degree. You can't fool players in the sense that if there is one player or two getting most of the reps, then you kind of see that that's the guy right there, regardless if, he's completing every pass or making every read. If, we got to understand football, this NFL life is business. It's business first. If you draft a guy here, then that's the guy you're going to want to play. That's the guy the GM, the general manager is going to want to play. If not, we're going to have to answer, why did we take this guy here and he's not playing and he's behind this guy? So we always got to keep in mind the business of the NFL. And when you talk about the business of the NFL, when you see who you have on this roster, you kind of align these guys as such. And, when you look at the Browns and you put that in perspective, we never, in Coach Kevin Stefanski's offense, we never needed, the Lamar Jackson type quarterback, Patrick Mahomes type quarterback. We don't need that guy. This is a team offense. If ran smoothly and efficiently, created with balance, with a good running attack, which we have again, possibly the two-headed monster led by Judkins. If we have that, the balance necessary, then the quarterback is more so a piece to a bigger puzzle.
Josh, when you look at, you mentioned piece of bigger puzzle in a division with Lamar Jackson, in a division with Joe Burrow, and now in a division with Aaron Rodgers, how important is it to get that right? And how quickly do you think in this process does Kevin Stefanski need to identify, okay, this is the guy to get him ready? Since, by the way, we play those teams week 1 and week 2, Joe Burrow. Then we go Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Jared Goff.
You got Goff, Love,
Jordan Love, then Jared Goff.
Yeah.
In your first 4 weeks.
Yeah, right.
Tough.
Yeah, and it's very important, right? And this is how you win games. You score points. A lot of teams will point to defense, but it could be 0-0, and the other team will end up wearing our defense out and kick a field goal. So we have to score points. So this is the huge piece, the biggest piece to the puzzle, right? And whoever's there, we'll have guys at the 2 and 3 position, and maybe on practice squad where I believe Shedeur Sanders will be. We'll have options to go deep into our bench that's not a UFL player, or that's not somebody on the dirty roster spot that we just picked up on a whim. So at each level, 2, 3, there is depth at the quarterback position. That is the highlight. That is the, antithesis to last season as far as how we were with the quarterback situation. So I think if you look at this, again, and how we're constructed, I think if you look at this team in this division, we're sitting pretty good. It's not looking bad at all. If our running backs pan out, that'll make it easier for whatever quarterback to do the dinks and dunks, and then it's left up to Kevin Stefanski calling a decent play, and then our defense has to show up. I'm looking forward to, and you asked this the first question, it's just not the quarterback battle. I'm looking forward to that defense being a monster, to Mason, showing why he was our first pick taken. I'm looking to those cornerbacks, the trio. I want to see are they energized again? They were when I played softball with them. They were trying to win that softball game. So I'm looking at Emerson, MJ. I'm looking at Ward and Newsom. I'm looking at these guys. Are we going to have that defense that keeps us in games? And then our offense with two-headed monster that helps us control in the run-pass game. So there's multiple things that make us a complete weapon in the AFC North.
What does it mean for I'm asking you to get inside Kevin's head, but just to go back to what we believe he wants to be offensively. You understand why they did what they did a year ago, put Deshaun in the best position to succeed, but now this will be a return to what Kevin is most comfortable offensively. How does this roster fit that better?
The running game. I think on any team, if you are able to run the ball, man, you can be a C-plus quarterback, and your team is going to the playoffs looking strong. In the AFC North, it's all about, can you run the ball? And if you can run the ball effectively, then you have a offense that can move the chains, that can play a safe defense, that'll have to cover the run, which opens up the pass, and we all know that. So if Coach Kevin Stefanski can muster up a decent run attack with these pair of running backs, I mean, he hopefully, because this means that the Browns will do good. I loved it when Coach was winning, Coach of the Year and having seasons like that when he was pulling those rabbit out of a hat. But I think if our running backs are firing on all cylinders, Coach Kevin Stefanski is going to end up calling another great season. And then all those calls for, our head coach to change will all disappear again.
Absolutely, quite frankly, as they should disappear again. The guy's done, I think, an incredible job under very, very different circumstances, and he's been able to, as you said, 2-time Coach of the Year. There are not many of those in the National Football League, in the history, actually, of the National Football League. Wanted to get your thoughts as well on the news that came out yesterday. I think an incredibly exciting time for the Browns and their fans and Northeast Ohio. The budget is approved. The Browns will be moving to Brook Park in 2029 with the state-of-the-art enclosed facility, the enclosed stadium there. That is going to be, Josh, for a period of time, the greatest stadium and most technologically advanced, most beautiful stadium on planet Earth. And to have that in Northeast Ohio, to have that for the Cleveland Browns, I think pretty exciting. What do you think about that as a Browns alum and knowing maybe from a player standpoint, when you have that kind of a facility, how that can influence players and the game?
Definitely, and I get this question asked a lot, and a lot of fans come up to me and, what do you think about the new stadium? And for me, I'm jealous, not being able to have played in it, and like, oh man, I wish I could, put my cleats on and run a touchdown back in it, but overall, I think it's a tribute to our fans, to our great fan base. And I tell them all this when they ask me, you guys as fans, you had a tough time and a glorious time weathering our outdoor games, rooting for for a team that hasn't won in so long. You guys packed the stadium in rain, sleet, snow, shine. You guys are out there. So look at this as a thank you from this organization saying, you know what? You don't got to sit in the snow no more. You don't got to weather the storm, the rain, whether the team is a winning team or a losing team. We're going to put you in an awesome situation, in an awesome environment, and give you something great as a thank you. And I that's what I tell fans. Like, this is a thank you from the organization because our fan base deserves to sit in luxury and in a great stadium. Our fan base deserves this.
Well, speaking of fans, you are partnering with True Fan Travel for the trip to London this year as the Browns Takeover program. Our fans, and Josh will be there with you in London for the Browns Travelers program. The trip to London includes flights, invites to premium parties, hotel stay, tickets to Browns Vikings, obviously opportunity to hang out with the great Mr. Cribbs. For our fans, True Fan Travel is providing our fans exclusive discount code. If you book in July, $100 off the London trip at truefantravel.com/Browns. The code is July 100. You are a man who likes to have a good time, my friend. This feels like a win-win for everybody.
Yes, it is. And I remember the last Browns London trip, and we had a blast. It's just, every time, I look at that, experience, that fan experience, fans still come up to me to this day to talk about the fun we had in various London pubs. Like, you remember that time we went to London and we all had drinks, and I'm like, yeah, man, yeah, we got kids around here. What's done in London stays in London. So I can't wait to have another fun fan experience with fans who I used to get in trouble drinking with. I used to go to tailgates before games, and I used to get in trouble. Like, what was Cribbs doing at the tailgate drinking before? And not that I was drinking, but visiting fans. So now I get to do this and not get in trouble. I think it's an amazing opportunity for fans to connect with, alumni and players from the past. And, I'm looking forward to it. We're going to have a great time.
It's going to be awesome and an incredible opportunity to go overseas, as you mentioned, all of that. What do you kind of think about the proliferation of international games in the NFL? Just not only from the player standpoint, but just for fans and what it all means.
I think it's just an amazing opportunity that the NFL is bringing, because the NFL right now, if you look at it and the way it's been going, is geared towards the fan experience. Like, whether, we change the rules so that the players can, celebrate and do dances, that's for the fan experience. So the fans and their children can come, and it's an experience. It's not just a game where your team wins or loses. It's an experience of a lifetime that, you'll never forget with your family. And then this international experience, man, you get to go on vacation. That's an experience by itself, and with your favorite team. Like, this is a moment of, that some people will only get to live once. And if you can only do it once, why not enjoy that with your fans, with your favorite team? So I think, having this sets us apart from any other league. I'm not sure if the NBA does this, but I know that the NFL and the Browns right now are doing the right thing for its fans.
Josh, you ever been to London?
I have. I went to that was the first time I went to London, was our last game we played in London against the Vikings.
Yep, 2017.
What are you looking to run back in terms of sites and those type of things? And then what didn't you do the last time that you're most looking forward to do this time?
Oh, that's a good question. So the sites, Big Ben, we were able to ride around on a tour bus. You know what? The Browns actually laid it out last time. Like, I got to go around town on a tour bus with a drum line, throw people from London and fans, Browns memorabilia, take shots with people on the street. I mean, we were wilding out in London. And a lot of time I had to, make my family look away so I can have a moment with fans. So it was a great time. I think one of the things I'm looking forward to doing this time is kind of trying to repeat that experience as much as possible. I tried to live it up. So there's not something that I wanted to do that I didn't get to do the first time. I'm just trying to grab a little bit of that experience from the first trip, trying to remake that happen again.
And it was a magical time. My first game in the booth with Jim Donovan in the stands.
Yeah.
We were in the stands. There was no radio booth. We were literally in the stands. It was wild. This, I think, will be a much different experience, obviously, going over there. For you to be a beloved alum, to be as good as you were on the field and all the accolades that you achieved and all of that, to still kind of have that connection that you have with this team, this organization, get to do things like this and go on the cruise and do all the various fan things you get to do. How kind of rewarding is that to you? And is it kind of surreal that, you truly have made, this football family, your family here in this area?
Yes, it is surreal. I like that you use that word because, a lot of times, especially when I was playing, we would spend time with fans, but very sparingly, and, the creation of the cruise and, the Vegas takeover that True Fan put on and now the London takeover, that is something that, again, if I was just a fan and not have played, I would have wanted to take my son on something like this. That'll be a memory that my family would never forget. We could be able to show those pictures even over games. Like I went to London with the Browns and Josh Cribb, to have these experiences. So, I applaud the efforts because it brings fans closer to its players, its legends, and it makes being a fan that much more great. And, Browns fans, in my opinion, are the best fans, not having won a Super Bowl in years, but we have the greatest fan base and sometimes the worst climate, but yet our fans stay loyal. So I think this is a moment that loyal fans could appreciate, and it's our way of saying thank you. And this is why I go on trips like this.
Hey, man, it is great talking to you. We appreciate your time and look forward to the trip to London in the fall. Thanks, buddy.
Absolutely, guys. Have fun today. Take care. Love you.
All right, there you go. And a reminder to our fans
you
that
too,
True
brother.
Fan Travel is providing our fans with an exclusive discount code. If you book in July, $100 off the London trip. TrueFanTravel.com/Browns. The code is July100. We will break down the tight end room coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily. It's presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Elk and Elk Serious Lawyers, serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case for you. Elk and Elk's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. We continue our Browns position room breakdown in the tight end room, and to do so, we head to the podium presented by Vivid Seats. Purchase your official fan experience package day for the ultimate game day. Here's Browns tight ends coach Christian Jones.
Christian,
You're down.
Harold Fant seemed to catch everything. Is that exaggeration, or am I close to being on the mark?
You are very close to on the mark. He's got really strong hands. He tracks the ball well, and you see it on tape every time he's been playing. When you study him, and where we were getting ready to see what he would be for us, and the guy catches everything, tracks the ball well, and really adjusts to the ball in the air well.
You guys got him marked for a drop at all since rookie minicamp?
I had to go back in the files. I don't think he's had a drop, an easy drop. He might have had a contested catch drop, but I don't think he had one.
Christian, what about his after-the-catch creation ability? It seems like that's something that shows up on his college film, too. How have you guys seen that? I know it's no contact.
Yeah. He's decisive, and he's balanced. He has a lot of balance in his play, so he really – tacklers fall off of him. He tends to keep his feet running when somebody's coming at him, and he does a really good job of knowing whether to split or just make one miss and being really efficient in how he runs the ball. I think that's where he really shows up, is he's balanced and efficient. And that's something you're always going to see, is that accumulates into extra yards, and somebody pops up and you're like, oh, wow, why does he have 800, 900 yards? And it's because of those little decisions. So I would say that.
What's the biggest adjustment for a young tight end coming into the NFL? What's the thing they have to learn?
I would say the breadth of the playbook, as well as the amount of defensive looks that you have to look at. Even in the offseason, right, you're facing normal four-step, four-down fronts, but Schwartz's defense, they'll put anything in, they'll run anything. So now he's looking at a 6-1 front, he's looking at some kind of under front, like it could be anything, and he has to be ready to think quickly, as well as be ready for 10, 12, 30 different calls on the day.
Do you think people understand how complicated playing tight end is in the NFL?
It's a little underappreciated. It's starting to be appreciated more, but I still think there's a lot to learn about playing tight end in the NFL.
What about David? I know we only saw him out here these handful of days, but what just have been your first impressions of working with him, first of all?
He brings a lot of energy. He loves football and brings a lot of energy, and he wants to be out there playing and supporting his teammate. I think that's something that I've seen from the day he came in, and when we talked a little bit earlier before I even got to Cleveland, is he loves his teammates, wants to play, and he wants to get back to the level that he's been at. He really takes his game seriously, and that's been great to have in the room and for guys to see.
On the scale of tight end appreciation, you said we've made some progress there.
Yeah.
What progress have we made, and then what do we still not quite?
Well, we finally have a tight end appreciation day, right? We got tight ends day. We got T-shirts that are going around the league. So I'd say it's that, and it's using bigger personnels to try and create passing opportunities, staying in smaller personnels to run the ball. It's just being versatile in how you approach the game and how you approach game planning, and using tight ends in different positions. They don't always have to block. They don't always have to run routes that are love of the game. Now, we love those. We need to do those, right? But tight ends can be playmakers, and I think we're starting to see a lot more athletic players show up, and I think the game will change as that happens.
This position under Kevin Stefanski has been sort of a proving ground. So
yeah.
Like it's a position he really values.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a big part of it, that you have to be involved in so many aspects of the offense and just sort of understand every piece of the offense?
Yeah, you hit it right on the money. You have to be involved in every aspect of the offense, and you typically don't have as much meeting time as quarterbacks would get, right? When special teams are going on, the tight ends are in special teams meetings, so you have to be really efficient with your time. And typically the tight ends have to be really smart, because they have to be able to digest everything quickly and apply that on the field, right? And they have to do a lot of studying on their own. So you got to find guys that are self-sufficient, want to work, will look for you to work, but also will do it on their own as well. So it takes a lot of work in the building and outside, I would say.
When you talk about David being so motivated, I know you were here last year with him, but he went through so many nagging injuries. Has he talked about that or expressed frustration with last year and wanting to put that behind him, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, he had a tough year last year, a lot of things going on with injuries, and I think he fought through them all well. He's always going to try and be out on the field. And that's something that I've heard and seen expressed from him. And yeah, it's visible frustration. When you ask him how the last year went, that's the first thing we talk about, right? Is injuries, how it held him back, and what he wants to do as a player, right? Be out there every game that he can and play as many snaps as he can. And I think that's something that he's aiming to do this year, and I'm excited to see it.
Given everything that's on a tight end's plate to begin with, and you add in the fact that Harold was kind of the position, how do you balance pushing him and being patient with him?
Oh, it's going to be all pushing. You got to push him and make it and see where at some point rookies always hit a wall, right, with the installs, with the amount of defenses they see. So you try to push them up until that wall and then find new ways to teach them, new ways to help them learn, new ways to retain information, so that way they can keep pushing past it. I think that's something that always happens. Guys, once you get the install, whatever, 5, 6 guys it starts to flood their head. You got to find ways to bring them back, think through things clearly, and then approach it maybe a different way.
Big picture, what's the obviously the tight end has come a long way. What's the future of that? Where should need and want to be?
That's a great question. I think as the game evolves, as nutrition gets better, weight training continues to grow, and players, obviously guys are getting bigger, faster, stronger, so I think you're just going to see a lot more athletic players out there, and I think you're going to see guys running a lot more unique routes. I think there's a lot of tight ends in the class this year that are really athletic and could go out and line up at number one and run routes and win. And Harold's done that in college as well. So I think you're going to see a lot of tight ends that can be efficient receivers both in the slot, attached, and even out at number one versus press coverage. I think that'll happen at some point.
Apologize for what were your emotions when you guys drafted Harold? Like, what was kind of going through your head when you were like, you came off the board, you knew you guys were going to take him?
It was kind of a whirlwind because I kind of was just sitting there waiting to see what would happen. It's a little bit different at every team, but once I saw the name flash up, it was a lot of excitement, and I got to know him through the process. So I was honestly just more happy for him and excited for him and his family. He'd been through a lot, and his family had been through a lot, and getting to meet them, they're all really close, and they all support each other. So I know what it means for a family to have somebody accomplish something. Everybody feels like they helped. So I was more excited for them.
What do you kind of talked about this time, and just knowing all about Gage Noah, how special was that of being able to see his excitement in the moment, on the other side of the phone?
Yeah, it was great. I couldn't see much because he was trying to put his ear to the phone to hear me because there was a lot of screaming going on, but I could tell by, you could tell by the tone and everything that's going on in the background that they're excited. So that's all I really needed to see. All I told him was it's time to work, right? I'm not here to high five you. I shake your hand and tell you congratulations, but once you step in the building, it's time to go to work. So that's the first thing I told him. That's what I tell him every day.
All right, there you go. Tight ends coach Christian Jones from Mandatory Minicamp. The tight end room as follows: David Njoku, Harold Fannin Jr., Blake Whiteheart, Brennan Bates, and Sal Canala. Those are your tight ends. This is a room that will be leaned upon heavily offensively this season, especially in the past game. Dr. Z.
Yeah, and I think we're going to play a lot of 12 personnel, much like we talked about yesterday, that you think, down in Pittsburgh, that they're going to play a lot of 12 personnel. And what do they say? Oh, we see Jonnu Smith as that second tight end, but we also see him as a big slot receiver. Well, what have I been saying about Harold Fannin Jr.? I see him as a second tight end, but I also see him as a big slot receiver. One thing the Browns need to do, though, is get the ball to David Njoku further down the field. Last year, career low 7.9 yards per catch. That is hard for me to get my head around.
Yeah.
And you go back to when David Njoku was at his best, it was 20, 21, 22. I know in 23 he went to the Pro Bowl. He had that excellent run with Flacco.
Yeah.
His stats were buoyed bigly
Yeah.
by the 5 games with Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
But that's where David Njoku's been at his best, and that's more in the traditional offense. I think the times, the periods where David Njoku's numbers have been well down over the last 3 seasons, it's been the times where it has been kind of that different offense that was put in to cater more to Deshaun. I think that you're going to see David Njoku do very well in this offense, and I think Harold Fannin as well is going to do very well. But you want to get the Chief back to Pro Bowl form. He's one of the best two-way tight ends. What I mean by that is pass catching, but also blocking. And now you add in Fannin, who I think it's going to be more of a receiver. That's why I'm not as worried about our receiver room as some people may be, because I kind of see Fannin as a receiver. I think you line him up as a big slot in this, and he's going to be very effective.
Then do you think that this room is fully formed, or do you think there's opportunity to add to it?
This room?
Yeah.
They like Blake Whiteheart a lot. But yes, of course, there's opportunity to add to this room. It's a very, very important room. So that wouldn't
if you're going to
shock me.
If you're going to kind of rob Peter to pay Paul a little bit in the receiver room, then I think you might want another.
You want a third tight end that can block.
I mean, Pittsburgh's got 3.
Yep. You want a third tight end.
Yeah.
There will be
a lot,
3.
But there's going to be somebody else. You need, I think, one more, maybe. What's reasonable for Harold Fannin Jr. in year 1?
Move the chains, important catch. I don't know from a statistical standpoint what that's going to look like. I don't know, number one, how much we're going to throw for, but I think Harold Fannin being a chess piece. A reasonable expectation is he's a chess piece, that he plays a good deal and that he makes some big catches, good after the catch, that he's a solid contributor. Maybe that's, you go back to what was like Chiefs rookie year, 332 catches, 386 yards, 4 touchdowns. That feels kind of reasonable to me for Harold Fannin this year.
Do you think he'll be top 4 on this team in receptions?
Possible. Top 6 for sure.
Judy, Chief.
Should
better be Tillman.
Maybe a third down running back. And then I would say whoever kind of emerges as that second receiver between Tillman and Deontay Johnson. I think that there are people who think Deontay Johnson, if motivated and in the right frame of mind, is going to be a very effective player for this team.
I hope so. He certainly 2 years ago was, and most of his career was that. Last year was kind of a little bit different. But, there you go. There is your tied end room. We are back to naming our Browns quarter-century team. I'll let you choose your own adventure, running back or offensive line. Which do you prefer?
We'll do running back.
We'll do running back. We'll do the running back room coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Add more fun to your fandom with the Bally Bet Sportsbook app. Download today. Get 50 back in bonus bets. You wager 10 or more. Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Yesterday, we selected 2 quarterbacks for our 53.
Yes, we did.
Those quarterbacks were Baker Mayfield
That's right.
and Derek Anderson. And now we are putting together that offense in the backfield where we are picking the running back room. All right.
Let's do it. I think we're going to go 4 running backs.
Yeah, let's see. So we're at all right, so 2 QBs. Here is the list, among others, although you made the case for Jerome Harrison yesterday. He's on
the list.
now.
He's added.
Nick Chubb, Jamal Lewis, Isaiah Crowell, Peyton Hillis, Kareem Hunt, Dearness Johnson, William Green, Reuben Drones, Duke Johnson, Trent Richardson, Jerome Ford, and Jerome Harrison. It's a really good list.
Yep.
So it's not quite as strong as the offensive line list, but it's a very good list.
Well, we're going to get our 4 easy. I mean, let's go ahead and Nick Chubb's the starter.
Let's have a Nick Chubb conversation quickly here because I think Nick Chubb is also one of the 2 running backs on the. I think is he the starter?
He is the starter.
Him and no on the all time. It's him and Jim Brown
on the all time Brown list.
It's Leroy Kelly. It's Chubb.
Marion Motley.
That's kind of a different. That's a tough one.
It
Motley
is,
one's a
but
tough
I
one because
mean-
he's kind of everything. Motley would probably. He would certainly.
Leroy
be there.
Kelly. Like right now,
Greg Pruitt.
I mean, here's the
type
thing.
stuff.
You've got Jim Brown in the Hall of Fame. You've got Leroy Kelly in the Hall of Fame, and you've got Marion Motley in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Chubb makes the team. I think he makes the
On
team.
our all-time team?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he might be like RB4.
I don't have any point of reference on Leroy Kelly, but I think that there was definitely. I mean, I'm aware of statistically, but I don't have any point in terms of watching him play.
No,
but there was certainly a stretch when I would have said Nick Chubb was the best running back in football.
Yes. Unfortunately, I think for Nick Chubb, it was a 4-year run. So just Leroy Kelly, give you just
yeah.
Led the league in rushing twice, led the league in touchdowns 3 times, led the league in yards from scrimmage and touchdowns twice apiece. Was in his best 4-year stretch. He was first team, second team. He was 6 straight years as a Pro Bowler. He had 3 seasons where he was top 4 in the MVP voting.
Yeah. So that's
that.
That's that.
Hall of
So that's
Famer.
it, yeah.
All 1960s team. That's the thing with Nick Chubb is great and beyond reproach. He's a 4-time Pro
Yeah.
Bowler. He is a 1-time second-team All-Pro. Never was a first-team All-Pro.
Yep.
And unfortunately, just because of, I think, it would be hard for him to be on an all-decade team just because of the quickness and also the competition that he's faced at his position. So when you look at that, and then here's the one that I had to get educated on in my foray to the Cleveland Browns, but Marion Motley, 2-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro. Obviously, completely different game era, all of it for sure. Don't get me wrong.
McKinley kid, man. Marion Motley.
And then Jim Brown.
That's best player ever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then one of the other ones that you'd have to look at from
Pruitt was the one I was curious about.
From the Browns standpoint as well, and I don't know if he's a pure running back, but, I mean, on some level he's a running back, was Bobby Mitchell, who is also in the Hall of Fame, is a 4-time Pro Bowler, first-team All-Pro, top 3 in MVP voting. He's a guy that's got 700-yard rushing seasons under his belt, averaged 5.3 yards per carry for his career, and also has multiple 1,384-plus yard receiving seasons under his belt. I mean, he was a receiver, but he's also played halfback. He was a flanker and a halfback. I mean, again, completely different era. Hard to get your head around that, but not for our conversation, obviously.
5
but you're
Pro
talking all
Bowls
time.
for Pruitt too. 5 Pro Bowls for him. Yeah, it's a good group. All right, so Chubb's on this list though. He's obviously the starter.
Yes. Chubb is on this list, and Chubb is the starter. I think RB2 is Jamal Lewis. And I know people would say, hey, he's like a Raven and all that. But
how long was he here? What was
Jamal Lewis was here for 3 seasons, 2007, 2008, 2009. He went 1,304 and 9. Then he had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons coming off of that big he was the comeback player of the year in 2007, number 4th in that voting. Obviously, his best part of his career was with the Ravens.
Yeah.
But 1,304 yards, that was the most that he had. So his big year was 2003, ran for 2,066 yards with the Ravens. 1,304 with the Browns in 2007 was the most he had since that 2003 season. I just think when you're looking at the body of work here, you've got Jamal Lewis had the multiple 1,000-yard seasons. I don't know that there's anybody else that had multiple 1,000-yard seasons because Peyton Hillis, who I would probably
Other than Chubb.
Other than Chubb. Peyton Hillis, who I'd put on this team, I think, is a one-year wonder. So you're like, Peyton Hillis, you're getting real specific. You're saying 2010 Peyton Hillis. Just like Derek Anderson, you're kind of saying 2007. Baker Mayfield, you're kind of saying the 2020 Baker Mayfield. Right? Like,
yeah, there's a couple.
There's some that are very specific. Nick Chubb's
This is a harder one to do, though.
got 4 years. Jamal Lewis would be kind of, that 2007 Jamal Lewis, 2010 Peyton Hillis. Then I'm going to throw out just the best seasons and kind of stretch. So Kareem Hunt's best year with the Browns is 2020, and he goes in that season 1,145 total yards and 11 touchdowns. Okay? The only other person, there are only 3 other people that I think might even be in the conversation here, and I know you're going to laugh at this. However, Duke Johnson had a stretch of 4 out of 5 years over 800 total yards. That's better than, honestly, anybody else on this list. I'm not saying you put him on there, but his best season was 2017, and that year he had 1,041 total yards and 7 touchdowns, caught 74 passes, 693 yards. You've got Jerome Harrison, and that would be the magical part of the end of the 2009 season. And Jerome Harrison, in that 3-game stretch, rushes for basically 600 yards and 5 touchdowns.
It's wild, yeah.
He ran for 280-plus yards against Kansas City in a game.
Yeah.
I think he still holds the record for the Browns for the most rushing yards in a single game. I don't know if that gets him onto this team. It's certainly the best 3-game stretch.
Were those games important?
No, but they were all wins on a season where they won 5 games.
Yeah.
Most rushing yards in a game.
I'm always worried. That's kind of my thing. Like people who put up, and it's not their fault, but they just put up stats where there isn't other options.
Yeah, he still holds the record. 286 yards, broke Jim Brown's single-game franchise running record. December 20th, 2009, 34 times for 286 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, it's an unfathomable performance.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm pretty sure it's the second most in a game ever. Could that be right?
Did somebody go for 300?
AP 296 November 4th, 2007 against the Chargers. Jamal Lewis 295 against the Browns. Jerome Harrison 286 against the Chiefs.
It's a crazy game, just kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah, the most recent big one is 2024. Saquon Barkley this year 255 against the Rams.
Yeah.
So it's. I mean, that is astounding to me. That is the
performance.
third most rushing yards in a game.
You wonder what was like. Who remembers that game? Like it's just who knows.
Here's what's wild about it is so AP Hall of Famer Jamal Lewis was incredibly good. The other people in the top 10 of single game performances ever: Corey Dillon, Walter Payton, O.J. Simpson, Sean Alexander, Jamal Charles, Saquon Barkley, DeMarco Murray, Jonathan Taylor, and then Jerome Harris. Like,
so he's
an
the anomaly.
outlier of outliers.
All right, so my vote here is Kareem Hunt.
That was my initial vote. Yeah,
I just think the other thing with Kareem is he was in a job share with Nick.
Yep.
His personality is a 10 out of 10.
Yep.
In many ways, he was kind of the heartbeat of the success we had in the teens and the early 20s. He was kind of the heartbeat of it. He was such a leader.
Yep.
Him coming back after Nick got hurt, all of it, and I think his career is an interesting one because I think if this off-field stuff doesn't happen early, who knows what happens?
Agreed.
With what his career
he led the
is.
league in rushing his rookie year.
Yeah. So to me, he's the fourth. I'm very happy with Nick, Jamal, Peyton, and Kareem.
Yeah, that's a darn good group.
And now you can have one as a wild card as we build towards the 53s because you might be able to keep 5 of these guys if there's another position room that isn't maybe
Up
as
to it.
strong.
Yeah.
So much more to come. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, there you go, kids.
Can I tell you about something I did earlier today that was fun since we got one quick minute?
I can't wait.
I had to take my wife's car back to the tire place.
Mhm.
My guy, Bob, taking great care of her. Shout out, Bob, at Mr. Tire.
Good job, Bob.
If you're in the Solon area, the Solon Mr. Tires, wonderful establishment. So she couldn't leave the baby. We weren't going to schlep the baby there. So I loaded, we have a scooter, like
Okay.
a personal bird, basically.
Yeah.
I loaded that into the back seat, drove to Mr. Tire, and scooted home.
You
and
birded home?
It was exhilarating.
Had to be the most fun ever.
Oh, it was great.
20.
It was so fun.
course
It's
it was.
probably like maybe a 10-minute bird, so it's not like it was.
Yeah,
but
so what?
Out there living in nature, the wind in my
Wind is
hair.
blowing?
Oh,
Come on.
it made me think of
10.
being with you and Indy, dude. It was great.
It's the best time of all time. Next Level's next. We're back tomorrow. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.